If I were to say to you the names Monet, Renoir, Picasso, or Van Gogh, you would probably know who they were. You probably even know that they were artists. But if I ask you who Camille Pissarro is, what would you say? Unless you're knowledgeable of the art world from the 1800s, you probably don't have a clue who he was. He was not nearly as well known as his counterparts, yet he still played a significant role in the Impressionist era. Born Jacob Abraham Camille Pissarro in 1830 to a Jewish merchant, Camille lived in a small town now known as the Virgin Islands. He lived here until he was 12. At the age of 12, he went off to Paris to boarding school. Upon his return, Camille was expected to follow in the family footsteps. He was to run the family business. Camille had other plans in mind. He was more interested in sketching arbors and countrysides. In 1852, Pissarro sailed to Venezuela with a Danish artist named Fritz Melby. By 1855, Pissarro had convinced his parents that art was the path he chose to take. At this time, he was off to Paris, where he studied at various institutions alongside Monet and other masters of the art world. Such masters as Camille Corot and Gustave Courbet were thought to be some of Pissarro's biggest influences. In his early works, Camille even listed Anton Melby and Courbet as his masters on the catalogs. By 1868, Pissarro no longer gave credit to other artists. This marked his independence as a painter. Pissarro favored landscapes and seemed to connect with the peasants and the laborers working in the countryside. Some of his landscapes might have looked like this, such as behind me. In his early paintings, Pissarro used an array of bright colors. He used hues of yellows and oranges and blues, as in this early painting. He used a technique called stacking versus mixing the colors. In stacking the colors, he could still achieve different effects. He used mostly the primary colors and utilized the blank spots in the canvas. The white of the canvas would provide contrast with the bright colors. Pissarro exhibited his works in the Paris Salon. However, he was dissatisfied with the bureaucracy and unfairness associated with the Salon. Other Impressionists felt the same as he did. Soon, Pissarro, along with several others, including Monet, Renoir, Sisley, and Cezanne, formed a society. Eventually, this society put together an exhibition of their own and for other Impressionists. This became known as the first Impressionist exhibit. Unfortunately, public and financial recognition of the exhibit did not meet Pissarro's expectations. Because of his maturity and being 10 years older than his fellow Impressionists, Pissarro was viewed as a mentor and a father figure. This dubbed him the name Father Pissarro, or Father of the Impressionist. Even though Camille faced many financial hardships throughout his life due to the lack of popularity in the Impressionist art, Pissarro held true to his beliefs and refused to return to the Paris Salon. After spending 6 years working among fellow Impressionists, Pissarro met Georges Seurat and Paul Signac, who introduced him to a technique referred to as pointillism. Pointillism is the use of dots instead of brushstrokes on the canvas. Many dots of color are applied to the canvas. Up close, the dots look nothing more than dots, but from a distance, they blend together to form an image, like in this painting. The picture is blurred looking and is not nearly as defined. Pissarro dabbled in this technique, unlike some of the other Impressionists who chose to stay clear of it. This only lasted, however, for a short time. He felt the technique lacked spontaneity and was too rational. He returned to his way of painting with a more renewed, mature perception. By now, the artist is aging, and ongoing eye infections prevent him from painting outdoors. Unless the weather conditions were impeccable, Pissarro was forced to paint from behind a glass. Still, he was determined to continue painting landscapes. Camille rented a room at the Grand Hotel de Russie, where he set up canvases, often many at one time. When the time was right, the lighting was right, or the weather conditions were right, he would begin to paint. This is where the Boulevard Montmartre was born. These paintings depict the boulevard at different times of the year and different times of the day. This one being in the wintertime, this one in the spring, and this one at night. The Boulevard Montmartre was a series of 14 paintings that Pissarro painted. One of the most famous from this collection was the Boulevard Montmartre at night. This painting is unique in that it is the only one in the series that he painted at nighttime. It is less defined than some of the others, and he used darker, heavier hues. The heavier brushstrokes with a combination of chaotic brushstrokes in the bottom gave the painting definition and texture. Pissarro illustrates the differences in lighting from gas lamps depicted in the yellows and oranges to the yellows of the oil lamps on the carriages and to the lighter whites of the electric lamps on the street. The figures are not precise but appear blurred, giving the assumption of movement down the boulevard. The reflections of the light onto the street give the painting a glistening appeal. The angle at which the boulevard is depicted draws the light up so that you follow the boulevard on into the darkness. Even though the impression of movement is present, the painting still gives a calm, serene appeal to it. You can almost feel a cool, quiet breeze as you sit looking at the painting. The lack of precise lines and the vagueness of the figures allows the viewer to perceive the painting as they wish. Therefore, no two people would perceive this painting the same. Some may view it as cold and dreary, while others view it as calm and serene. The quality makes his painting unique and quite genius. I can't help but wonder why Camille painted this piece at night. Is it his way of depicting his less than perfect eyesight? Is he predicting the end of an era, the Impressionist era? Or is it simply Pissarro's finding peace with the night and bidding farewell? One may never really know. In today's world, Pissarro would be thought of as a rebel. He did not follow in his father's footsteps. He married a non-Jew woman who was also a servant for the family. And he did not conform to the views of others when it came to his art, but followed his own artistic path, even when it caused him considerable financial hardships. He did not get the recognition or the credit that he deserved as a significant role in the Impressionist era. He made little or no money on his paintings while he was alive, often deeming him the lifestyle of a poor peasant. Pissarro was a mentor, an artist, and by all rights, an innovator. He was not a rebel, but that of a founding father. Art critic Emile Zola once stated, "Camille Pissarro is one of the 3 or 4 painters in his day. I have rarely encountered a technique that is so true." Today, Pissarro's paintings are in various exhibits around the world and bring $2 to $4 million in the U.S. Not only are his paintings his legacy, but his children and grandchildren have carried on his legacy as well. Son Lucien went on to become a painter. Great-granddaughter Layla is a successful artist living in London, and great-grandson, Hakim, is a creator at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Who would have thought someone you knew nothing about, nor even recognized his name, would contribute so much to the world of art and continues to contribute 111 years after his death? He is said to paint the smell of earth, and I believe this is true.